aqui, estamos no local certo. Vocês estão conseguindo acompanhar? A transmissão de áudio está clara o suficiente?
Tranquilo aqui.
Show de bola. Então, se vocês tiverem problema, por favor, me avisem, especialmente porque eu vou tentar monitorar pelo chat aqui. Eu vou até abrir o chat aqui, porque aí eu fico visualizando, tá? Se alguém falar alguma coisa. Beleza.
1. How to love the wind.
How to love the wind. Ok. Então, vai ser o seguinte, pessoal. O que vai acontecer? Eu vou utilizar, eu vou deixar a leitura correr e eu vou continuar. Ok. Bom, aqui está aparecendo. Ok. So, eu vou deixar a leitura correr e vou parar quando eu achar que algum termo, alguma sentença é interessante. E eu posso pedir que qualquer um de vocês também dê a sua opinião, aquilo que vocês acham em relação a isso. Beleza?
Okay.
Deixa eu só ver aqui como é que tá. Ok. So, let's carry on. Nice. Eu quero saber se a tela está atualizando aqui. Eu acabei de trocar de página. Vou voltar para a página anterior. A tela está atualizando?
Tá sim.
Thank you.
Wind extinguishes a candle and energizes fire. Likewise with randomness, uncertainty, chaos. You want to use them, not hide from them. You want to be the fire and wish for the wind. This summarizes this author's non-meek attitude to randomness and uncertainty.
Ok, temos algumas palavras importantes aqui. A frase de abertura é maravilhosa, né? E provavelmente não é o autor que está falando aqui. It's not the author's words, it's the word of the presenter of the book, the person who's introducing the book to us. Wind extinguishes the candle and energizes fire. So it's showing both sides of one specific phenomenon. And likewise, em inglês quer dizer de igual modo. A gente usa muito o like já no nosso cotidiano para dizer tipo isso ou tipo aquilo. Beleza. Mas a gente utiliza bastante, a gente vai utilizar bastante, não utiliza bastante, mas essa palavra é uma palavra muito erudita, muito boa para likewise, ok? So that's it. Likewise, de igual modo. Randomness, random é algo aleatório, então randomness seria aleatoriedade, ok? Para algumas pessoas essa palavra não é uma grande novidade. E non-meek attitude. Essa provavelmente é a palavra que mais deixou as pessoas. This is the word that probably got people confusing here. Non-meek. Meek em inglês é manso, né? Então tem lá na Bíblia que diz assim: os mansos herdarão o reino dos céus, né? The meek shall inherit the kingdom of heaven. Então Jesus diz também na Bíblia que a gente seja manso e humilde de coração. To be meek and lowly of heart. Então, meek quer dizer manso, o animal que é manso, que não é arredio, é meek, como um cordeirinho, né? The lamb, which is Jesus' symbol. One of the most important of Jesus' symbols is the lamb. So, meek. No meek attitude, uma atitude não meek. Ok, deixa eu só fazer uma coisa aqui quanto a esse compartilhamento de tela aqui, porque por algum motivo esse ícone aqui está aparecendo, right? Anyways, let's carry on.
We just don't want to just survive uncertainty, to just about make it. We want to survive uncertainty and, in addition, like a certain class of aggressive Roman Stoics, have the last word. The mission is how to domesticate, even dominate, even conquer the unseen, the opaque, and the inexplicable.
Okay, so this is a very bold attitude. This is certainly a representation of the bold attitude that the author of this text has just presented us. Stoics is the group of philosophers, ancient philosophers that frequently talked about you elevating yourself above the suffering, above the hardship that life entails. We can it's difficult here to select the words and show it on a dictionary because of this selection algorithm of Kindle. So, but we want to dominate the unseen, the opaque, It's almost the same word in Portuguese. The inexplicable. How? Okay, let's move on.
How? 2. The antifragile. Some things benefit from shocks. They thrive and grow when exposed to volatility, randomness, disorder, and stressors, and love adventure, risk, and uncertainty.
Stressors here são estressores ou elementos estressantes, okay? We're not talking about stress exactly. We're talking about objects or things, factors that cause stress.
Yet, in spite of the ubiquity of the phenomenon, there is no word for the exact opposite of fragile.
It's interesting. Okay.
Let us call it antifragile.
Antifragile. Yet, e ainda assim. In spite of the ubiquity. Ubiquity, ubiquity seria estar em todo lugar ao mesmo tempo. Seria, aqui nós dizemos que seria a onipresença ou a omnipresença, né? Que omnipresença provavelmente em espanhol, mas omnipresença seria essa qualidade de estar em todo lugar ao mesmo tempo. Let's check it out. As you can see here, ubiquitous, present, appearing, or found everywhere. That's the definition of ubiquity. Ubiquity is the noun that derivates from the same word, from the word ubiquitous. So you can say that something is ubiquitous, especially when you talk about a phenomenon. For example, grass. Grass is a ubiquitous plant. You can find grass everywhere, okay? So, in spite of the ubiquity, yet, e ainda assim, a despeito da ubiquidade ou da omnipresença do fenômeno, there is no word for the exact opposite of fragile. Let's call it antifragile. Então, não é uma palavra per se, é uma palavra que deriva do seu elemento antagônico. Some things benefit from shocks. They thrive and grow when exposed to volatility, randomness, disorder, and stressors, and love adventure, risk, and uncertainty. What is that? It's the opposite of fragile. So let's call it antifragile. Okay.
Antifragility is beyond resilience or robustness.
Okay, I just love this, by the way. Eu amo
This
isso
audio
aqui.
program is...
I'm sorry. I just love this, by the way, because nowadays it has become a great cliche when they say, oh, we have to talk about resilience. Resilience is one great word that we talk about today. Yeah, fine, okay, but this guy comes up with a proposal that I just love. Okay, let's forget about this silly conversation of resilience and resist the hardship, resist the trouble that we find in life. Okay, why don't we start talking about how we can overcome shocks, volatility, randomness, disorder, and stressors? How can we actually take great advantage from risk and uncertainty? So I just really love the proposal in this book. Okay, so this gives me a great feeling about reading this book. I'm really interested in learning what he's got to say.
Inexplicable. How?
Okay, it's going again.
2. The antifragile. Some things benefit from shocks. They thrive and grow when exposed to volatility, randomness, disorder, and stressors, and love adventure, risk, and uncertainty. Yet, in spite of the ubiquity of the phenomenon, there is no word for the exact opposite of fragile. Let us call it antifragile. Antifragility is beyond resilience or robustness. The resilient resists shocks and stays the same. The antifragile gets better. This property is behind everything that has changed with time: evolution, culture, ideas, revolutions, political systems, technological innovation, cultural and economic success, corporate survival, good recipes, say chicken soup or steak tartare with a drop of cognac, the rise of cities.
Okay, so yeah.
Cultures, legal systems, equatorial forests, bacterial resistance, even our own existence as a species on this planet. And anti-fragility determines the boundary between what is living and organic or complex, say, the human body, and what is inert, say, a physical object like the stapler on your desk. The anti-fragile loves...
Ok, isso aqui está na frente do nosso texto. Isso aqui já estava me incomodando. Deixe-me simplesmente tentar resolver isso. Ok. Eu vou minimizar todas as telas que eu tenho aqui. E vou fechar algumas para evitar dores de cabeça. Fechar tudo aqui. E vou compartilhar outra vez para ver se a gente consegue eliminar esse problema. Eu vou tirar o som do computador, não vou compartilhar o som do computador. A minha voz está duplicada para vocês, não?
No, it's okay, Tulio.
Okay, thank you very much, dear. So now we might not experience that problem anymore. Let's go. So the anti-fragile loves randomness and uncertainty.
Randomness and uncertainty, which also means, crucially, a love of errors, a certain class of errors.
This is amazing. It seems that one of the most paralyzing things for most people is error. And it's interesting because I remember when I was in school, English school, my last teacher, Alexandre Fialho, is a great guy. And he was trying to teach us in the classroom the concept of error and mistake. Because error is a big stuff. It's something serious. For example, if I tell you that my mother drink tea, well, this sentence is not correct because I should have said my mother drinks tea. I should have used the S at the end of the verb. My mother drinks tea. So the sentence is not correct, but you can understand me. So we can call it a mistake. But if I say, for example, my mother is drinking tea, and I actually meant that she drinks tea, then it's an error. Because the comprehension, the understanding of what I say is impossible. You know, I actually say something and I mean something else. There is absolutely no connection between one thing and the other. We call it errors. People are terribly afraid of making errors. But it's not any type of errors that could help us grow and especially overcome the situations in which we are nowadays. So it's just amazing. We have to learn how to love the right kind of errors. It's mind-boggling, by the way. It's really exciting.
Anti-fragility has a singular property of allowing us to deal with the unknown, to do things without understanding them, and do them well. Let me be more aggressive. We are largely better at doing than we are at thinking.
That I have to confess, to me, this is scary. Allowing us to deal with the unknown, to do things without understanding them. I have to confess, this is scary, all right?
Thanks to anti-fragility. I'd rather be dumb and anti-fragile than extremely smart and fragile.
Okay, this sentence is the one that I used in a recent video promo that I was editing. I'd rather be dumb and anti-fragile than extremely smart and fragile at any time. How do you feel? How do you feel about that sentence, William?
Oh boy,
It's difficult to
feel? It's
yeah.
difficult to say because I rather be dumb and anti-fragile. Oh, I don't know how to answer this question.
Yeah, that's interesting. For example, I don't want to speak right now. Raíza, would you like to say anything about how you feel about the sentence?
Yeah, Tulio, I feel that I really understand it, and I think that I agree with it. Because,
okay, so
and especially because I think it's special, be dumb and anti-fragile and make mistakes so that we can learn with it. Then be really smart and fragile and stay in a place that we don't take risks, we don't that we don't take risks and we don't achieve something because of it.
Okay, I have another guest here today. I have another participant here His name is Edivan. Edivan, would you like to share your thoughts with us as well? Feel free, sir. You have to unmute your mic, but please be at will, sir. Okay, I think maybe Edivan is not, maybe Edivan just want to listen to us. Okay, that's fine. All right, so could you give an example, Raíza, of an antifragile that is dumb and not smart?
Oh, what an example now. I'm thinking about it.
William,
I think that
go ahead.
maybe some entrepreneurs, they
some
can be,
entrepreneurs.
Yeah, entrepreneurs. Maybe there are some of them that they are dumb, but they don't care about it and they take risks.
Yeah.
Then a big businessman that is in a position, but he's so fragile that he don't want to change his life if he is sad about it. So maybe it can be an example.
Of course. William, has any example crossed your mind? Any possible example?
I think when you are dumb, you take more risks, and this change your life. If you're so smart enough to not take some risks, maybe your life don't grow, or you not be able to achieve your goals or your dreams, anything like that, you know?
Possibly. If we follow the ideas of our prologuer, certainly. I think one great example, I may be wrong because, first of all, I didn't read the book previously. I'm reading the book for the first time right here with you guys. So there might be a chance that someone is reading the book, has read the book before we did, and that's okay too. But the point is, I imagine, for example, children. Children are anti-fragile. When children make mistakes, when they break the things inside the house, when I give a child a toy and after 1 or 2 days the child is playing with the toy, she destroys the damn toy. It's annoying, it's not good, but I'm not going to stop loving the child. I'm trying to teach and educate the child, and the child is making stupid mistakes and I have to insist. And with those mistakes, with those errors, I have to teach the child to correct and adjust from the mistakes or errors. Well, the first example that crossed my mind right now is children. Children are certainly anti-fragile. And for that reason, I think it's extraordinary, because who invented children? And well, if you are a believer, God invented the children. So no better person to invent one of the most anti-fragile things on earth than God himself. So it's just amazing. But let's carry on with our reading. I think that children are one perfect example. I believe that Raíza's example certainly will apply. There are business people who made terrible, serious mistakes and learned from that. Not only business people, I think also politicians, for example, when we study decision making, that is the invasion of Pigs Bay. It was a case of decision making that was a terrible mistake made by John F. Kennedy. And he learned a big lesson from that episode, tragic episode. And the next serious decision making process he had to carry out was about the Russian missile crisis. And it was a great success. And I think that politicians are one example of people who need to be anti-fragile. I don't think they are naturally anti-fragile. For example, I am an English teacher. I don't think I am an anti-fragile, anti-fragile. He uses these words. Ele não usa a pronúncia anti. É porque tem essas variações, por exemplo. As pessoas pronunciam, por exemplo, anti-Semitism ou anti-Semitism, né? Antissemitismo. Ou eles pronunciam fragile or fragile. Então essas duas pronúncias são variantes. So I don't believe that I am a anti-fragile. And I don't believe that my profession as an English teacher is anti-fragile, okay? As much as business people, in as much as politicians or government leaders or government managers. So, but I do believe that children are anti-fragile by nature. Okay?
Tulio, let me
ahead.
just ask you, do you think that we are just these, or we can learn how to be?
I think we can learn how to be. And I think that's the idea of Nassim Taleb, writing this book. Why would he write a book that's almost 700 pages long? So we could read about something that we are not supposed to learn or emulate. And as the prologuer suggests here, that it is a ubiquitous phenomenon, that is probably one way to take advantage from that. But I don't think I am in a state or in a position to answer your question with an affirmation, categorically. Why? Because that's the hypothesis of the book. That's also why we're going to read the book together, because we want to know if we can actually be anti-fragile, even if we have to become dumber.
Yeah, it's the idea. Discover if we can learn it and how to do
Certainly.
it.
Yeah. Certainly.
So
okay, let's go. Fine.
Anytime. It is easy to see things around us that like a measure of stressors and volatility. Economic systems, your body, your nutrition. Diabetes and Alzheimer's disease seem to come largely from a lack of randomness in feeding and the absence of the stressor of occasional starvation.
Jesus, this is mind-boggling. This is mind-boggling. Okay? Diabetes and many similar modern ailments. Ailments são doenças, tá? Aqui, ó. Ailments. Illness, typically a minor one. Like sedentarism, the ailments that derivate from sedentarism seem to be associated with a lack of randomness in feeding and the absence of stress or occasional starvation. Existe uma tese de que você deve comer de 3 em 3 horas, 4 em 4 horas, né? Tem um cara que recentemente foi prêmio Nobel de Medicina, que ele provou que isso é furada. Ele provou que isso só faz a pessoa ter maiores chances de desenvolver diabetes. E, aliás, eu acho que é um tema bem sensível, porque, se não me engano, o William tem problema com isso. E ele mostra, ao contrário, o benefício do starvation, no caso, fasting. A gente tem a expressão diet em inglês, mas fazer jejum é fast, como a palavra rápido em inglês, tá? Até porque é por causa disso que a palavra café da manhã se chama breakfast. Não se fala breakfast, mas se fala breakfast. Por quê? Porque é o de jejum, é a quebra do jejum. Você vai dormir, você fica em jejum enquanto dorme. Quando você acorda, você rompe, você quebra aquele jejum. Então, se eu como católico vou fazer jejum, I am fasting. Eu estou jejuando. Então, esse estresse corporal do jejum matinal ou do jejum dia sim, dia não, tem efeitos para a saúde maravilhosos. Esse cara provou isso e com essa tese dele ele se tornou prêmio Nobel de Medicina. So it's really interesting that the author brings this evidence about, okay? E William, talvez seja interessante você pesquisar um pouco sobre isso, cara.
Okay.
Your psyche. There are even financial contracts that are anti-fragile. They are explicitly designed to benefit from market volatility.
Isso aqui é verdade. Tem alguns perfis de contrato de papéis no mercado de bolsa que se beneficiam especialmente da volatilidade do mercado, da instabilidade do mercado. Tem uma coisa mais antifrágil do que você ter alguns milhões de dólares e quando a bolsa despenca por causa de uma crise, de qualquer coisa, você vai lá, compra os papéis da empresa a 10%, 12% do seu valor e 3 meses depois eles voltam ao seu valor normal? Tem coisa mais antifrágil do que você fazer isso? Tem um comportamento mais antifrágil do que esse? I really don't know. I really don't know somebody who could be more anti-fragile than that. And I really like it because the person is bringing us example to observe the point he has begun to make. Okay?
Anti-fragility makes us understand fragility better. Just as we cannot improve health without reducing disease or increase wealth without first decreasing losses, anti-fragility and fragility are degrees on a spectrum.
So it's fantastic. We are talking about I just think it's also amazing here because for people who study philosophy, there is a certain branch of philosophy that understands that the word is paradoxical. The completeness of the word is made of paradoxical complementary elements. So the world as a whole is composed of anti-fragility and fragility. They're two sides of the same coin, or as the author has put here, they are degrees on a spectrum. Eles são os graus num espectro, né? Então, se eu pegasse uma linha ou um círculo e dividisse em várias etapas, isso seria um espectrum, cujo plural é spectra, ok? É importante saber disso. A spectra, não se diz a spectra, se diz spectra ou the spectra, porque é plural. Então, a spectrum, são plural, se eu não me engano, latino. Essa é uma palavra latina, cujo plural também a regra é latina, não é a regra do inglês. So it's amazing. Let's go.
Non-prediction. By grasping the mechanisms of anti-fragility, we can build a systematic and broad guide to non-predictive decision-making under uncertainty in business, politics, medicine, and life in general. Anywhere the unknown preponderates, any situation in which there is randomness, unpredictability, opacity, or incomplete understanding of things.
Okay, so we came to a very intriguing sentence. It says, by grasping the mechanics of anti-fragility, we can build a systematic and broad guide to non-predictive decision-making under uncertainty. Okay, so now let's recall William, Raissa, and all the others here. We have another participant here today. It is Hayana. Hello, Hayana. Good afternoon. Be welcome, my dear. Okay, so we have it here. Imagine. Let's go back a few months in time. Let's imagine our lives when the whole crisis of coronavirus was beginning. We all have had to call shots. Call shots em inglês significa dar a ordem dos tiros. Então seria você tomar decisões. To call the shots seria tomar as decisões ou dar as ordens. We all had to call shots in the beginning of the crisis, and now that the things are going back to normal, we also have to call other shots. A gente tem que tomar outras decisões. And we know that the scenario in front of us is full of uncertainty. So we are making decisions about business, the politicians about politics, and especially our lives, plans for the future. And by grasping anti-fragility, we can build a systematic and broad guide to non-predictive decision-making. I don't know what the hell that is, but that might be interesting to know.
It is far easier to figure out if something is fragile than to predict the occurrence of an event that may harm it.
Estamos aqui, tá? We're here. Vou voltar pouco.
Complete understanding of things. It is far easier to figure out if something is fragile than to predict the occurrence of an event that may harm it. Fragility can be measured. Risk is not measurable outside of casinos or the minds of people who call themselves risk experts. This provides a solution to what I've called the black swan problem, the impossibility of calculating the risks of consequential rare events and predicting their occurrence. Sensitivity to harm from volatility is tractable, more so than forecasting the event that would cause the harm.
Okay, so temos essa palavra aqui, measurable. Nós temos a palavra measure, que é medida, e medida nos dois sentidos, que a gente também tem em português. Então, medida como, sei lá, 10 centímetros, o meu celular tem 12 centímetros, beleza. Então, isso é medida. E medida como algo que você toma para resolver um problema também é a measure, alright? So, risk is not measurable. It is fantastic. Naquele livro, a Rayana sabe qual é o livro que eu estou falando, porque a gente leu essa semana em aula, que é o Guide to Decision Making, The Economist's Guide to Decision Making. Ela tem um capítulo em que ela fala sobre a questão de risk management. E aí a Helga Drummond fala, as pessoas no mundo do business se comportam, the people in business or decision makers, they behave, eles se comportam they behave as if risk were controllable, como se o risco fosse controlável, as if it were fully measurable and controllable. And by experience, people know it's not. E pela experiência, as pessoas sabem que não é. Como é que você faz? Isso aí está ligado essencialmente a illusions of control, as ilusões de controle. You filter out information, você elimina a informação, você filtra a informação para fora out of the scenario, and then you only working with variables, é a melhor palavra, with variables or with factors which you can control. But you basically choosing not to see. You're choosing to ignore what you can't control, what makes the risk manageable, which is not true. Okay? So in very few conditions, in very few instances, risk is controlled, because we would need some kind of hermetic environment in which we can control all the variables. And it almost never exists in real life. It's just generally about where you cut the line. Isso geralmente tem a ver com aonde você corta a linha. Okay? All right, so the risk is a consequential rare events, occurrence, sensitivity to harm from volatility is tractable. Tractable. Easy to control or influence. Okay, so that's it. We say that sensitivity to harm from volatility is tractable. So this sensitivity, more so than forecasting event that would cause the harm. Okay, ainda mais a previsão de evento que poderia causar o dano.
So we propose to stand our current approaches to prediction, prognostication, and risk management on their heads.
Okay. So essa frase é interessante de observar. So we propose to stand our current approaches to prediction, prognostication, and risk management on their heads. Nós vamos colocar de pé essas coisinhas aqui. Approaches to prediction. Deixa eu tirar isso daqui, peraí. Approaches to prediction, prognostication, and risk management on their heads. Nós vamos colocar de cabeça para baixo. Stand on their head. Quando você fica de ponta cabeça, você planta bananeira, you stand on your head. Então, ele está falando aqui o quê? Nós temos ferramentas sofisticadas para prever coisas negativas que vão acontecer na nossa vida. Beleza, isso é fácil. Isso é a coisa mais fácil de se fazer no mundo. Vamos fazer o seguinte, vamos inverter isso. Vamos colocar isso de cabeça para baixo. Vamos começar a observar as coisas ao contrário. Let's see the things on reverse.
In every domain or area of application, we propose rules for moving from the fragile toward the anti-fragile through reduction of fragility or harnessing anti-fragility.
Okay.
And we can almost always detect anti-fragility and fragility using a simple test of asymmetry.
Okay, so, and we can almost always detect anti-fragility and fragility using a simple test of asymmetry. This is important.
Anything that has more upside than downside from random events or certain shocks is anti-fragile. The reverse is fragile.
All right. Okay, there you are. So that's the basic concept. Does any example cross your mind, William?
No, no, right. No.
Not at the moment.
No.
Okay. Me too. I can't actually call any examples right now. How about you, Raíza? Any examples crossed your mind?
No. Let's read more.
Okay. Edvan, Hayana, anybody?
No.
All right. I'm also puzzled. Okay, let's carry on then.
Deprivation of anti-fragility. Crucially, if anti-fragility is the property of all those natural and complex systems that have survived, depriving these systems of volatility, randomness, and stressors will harm them.
Okay, this is amazing. This is just amazing. It's an amazing sentence. If you take the volatility and randomness away from the systems will die. They will naturally deteriorate.
They will weaken, die, or blow up. We have been fragilizing the economy, our health, political life, education, almost everything, by suppressing randomness and volatility. Just as spending a month in bed, preferably.
I think that political correctness is one of the things that has been mostly doing that. Okay, I think that in economy, price control, okay, the people control prices. Pessoal, as pessoas reclamam muito, né, que os preços de alguma coisa estão altos. Isso está acontecendo na Argentina agora. Então, os preços das coisas estão altos. Aí, o que é que fazem? Porque está inflacionando. O que é que eles fazem? Eles tabelam o preço. Na hora que eles tabelam o preço, os agricultores da Argentina começam a tocar fogo nas plantações de trigo. Porque não vale a pena o cara gastar $80 mil para poder plantar vários hectares de trigo e ele ter que vender aquilo por 50 mil porque o governo argentino tabelou. Quando você tira a volatilidade, a aleatoriedade ou o estresse do sistema, você tenta tirar, você mata o sistema na hora. O cara toca fogo na plantação, então se for para poder perder dinheiro, eu prefiro perder tudo. Certo? Então isso aqui é importante. A economia, né? Economic systems, they're very large and their balance and their self-regulation depend naturally on volatility and stressors, especially. So that's the first example that crossed in my mind. And we have a very close one, which is Argentina right now.
With an unabridged version of War and Peace and access to The Sopranos' entire 86 episodes.
Ok. Vamos voltar pouquinho.
Or blow up. We have been fragilizing the economy, our health, political life, education, almost everything, by suppressing randomness and volatility. Just as spending a month in bed, preferably with an unabridged version of War and Peace and access to The Sopranos' entire 86 episodes, leads to muscle atrophy. Complex systems are weakened, even killed when deprived of stressors.
That's amazing. That's amazing. The more you stress your body, the stronger and the more disposition you will have. Even when you're stressing your body with fasting, com jejum, okay?
Much of our modern structured world has been harming us with top-down policies and contraptions, dubbed Soviet Harvard delusions in the book, which do precisely this, an insult to the anti-fragility of systems.
Oh, yeah.
This is the tragedy of modernity. As with neurotically overprotective parents, those trying to help are often hurting us the most.
Quem nunca viu, né? Uma criança que é muito protegida, que é super protegida, cresce indefesa e quando se torna adulta começa a odiar os pais. Who has never seen this? Okay?
Peterson said about this.
Of course, and I got this from Peterson. I learned that lesson from Peterson itself. When you overprotect your children, you are spoiling them. So the idea is not to stupidly and overtly. Overtly é uma palavra bonita para abertamente, tá? Openly, overtly. So you're not supposed to overtly expose your children to risk and danger. The function of parents is to create this controlled zone of stress, essa zona controlada de stress, this controlled zone of error. So children will be constantly under stress, but they know they have your protection. They know they're in a safe environment as well. So you are constantly making your children become stronger people. And one day they will realize that they are intelligent, they might have become anti-fragile, but especially they're strong because you helped to do so, because you made sure that they became strong, and they will love you for that. So when parents try to take away the stressors out of the system, sometimes out of some kind of stupid manifestation of love, they're just fucking up with the whole thing.
If about everything top-down fragilizes and blocks anti-fragility and growth, everything bottom-up thrives under the right amount of stress and disorder. The process of discovery, or innovation, or technological progress itself depends on anti-fragile tinkering, aggressive risk-bearing rather than formal education,
Exactly. I just love this word. I just love this sentence. The process of discovery. Before I continue, Daniel, welcome, my friend. Okay, Daniel is not. Okay, Daniel. Okay. Ask to unmute. Daniel, seu microfone estava mudo, your mic was mute, so you'll probably be able to greet us the moment you unmute it. Okay, so this sentence here is just great. The process of discovery or innovation of technological processes itself depends on anti-fragile thinking. People, think about the smartphones. I have an iPhone, okay? I have had iPads before I had an iPhone, and I have had other models of iPhone before this one. How many innovations and anti-fragile tinkering? O que é tinker? Vamos lá, vamos por partes, igual o Jack Stripador, vamos lá. Vamos aqui, tinkering, ok? A expressão tinker, a expressão think não existe em inglês, tá? Só existe o verbo tinker. Deixa eu mostrar isso aqui para vocês no dicionário. Vamos dar uma olhada aqui. Olha lá, nós temos a palavra tin, em inglês, que quer dizer de metal, tá? Quando a gente lê o Mágico de Oz, tem The Tin Man, o homem de lata, o homem de metal. Nós temos tin horn, e logo no dicionário a próxima palavra é tinker. Nós não temos a palavra think. Por essa razão que algumas pessoas quando falam o verbo pensar, falam errado, porque falam I think. Não, não é I think. É I think, com chiado. Mas existe a expressão tinker. Tinker, em inglês, é uma pessoa que trabalha, que viaja, né, de lugar em lugar, consertando panelas. Mending é consertar panelas e objetos de metal. Então, eu não sei como traduzir exatamente isso em português.
Mascate.
Tá? Opa, muito obrigado, William. É um mascate. Eu sabia que essa palavra existia, mas não estava lembrando. Thank you very much, sir. Pronto. Só que tinker também significa a tentativa de reparar e, às vezes, inventar coisas, né, de um modo casual, não de um modo formal, ok? In a desultory way. O que seria desultory? Vamos dar uma olhada nisso. Desultory, que falta, né? Lacking, quer dizer faltante, plano ou purpose, objetivo ou mesmo entusiasmo, ou seja, desultory way quer dizer de um modo improvisado. In a desultory or desultory way, ok? Então é isso. Então vamos voltar. Agora a gente já sabe o que é tinker e a gente sabe o que é tinkering, ok? Existe também um pássaro chamado tinkerbird. Muito bom saber, tipo um pássaro mascate. Mas vamos lá. Então ele diz aqui, the process of discovery or innovation or technological progress itself, em si mesmo, ou por si mesmo, depends on anti-fragile tinkering, em um processo de ajuste, de invenção, de remendo à base do improviso. Cara, o iPhone 3, o primeiro iPhone, se não me engano, é o iPhone 3. Ele foi lançado, cara. Veja a quantidade de ajustes. Pô, os ajustes não foram necessariamente não planejados, né? Mas olha para a sua vida. Você decidiu um curso para a sua vida e você foi seguindo aquela estrada. No meio do caminho, você fez um pequeno ajuste porque você se deu conta de algo importante. Você faz um ajuste. Depois você faz outro, faz outro. Então, a maioria das progressões nas nossas vidas e também o desenvolvimento de tecnologias, de processos de excelência, não são feitos de maneira linear, nem de maneira parabólica, né? Faz uma curva e pá, tipo, os caras começam com a curva ascendente mesmo, uma parábola ascendente. Não, cara, não existe isso. O que existe, na verdade, é uma espécie de processo de autocorreção que tenta lidar com volatility, randomness, imperfections, stressors, errors, and people adjust from those encounters. When they encounter with these events, they adjust from there and they make this anti-fragile tinkering. I just love this sentence. This sentence is amazing, okay? It's just amazing. Aggressive risk bearing, né? A bear significa pôr sobre os ombros, suportar. Então, o suportar agressivo, de risco agressivo, o suporte do risco agressivo, rather than formal education. Aqui no Brasil, o quê? Eu estou precisando de fazer evolução profissional, vou fazer um mestrado. Sinceramente, dá vontade de falar palavrão, só não vou falar em respeito às senhoritas que estão presentes nessa sala. Mas aí as pessoas falam para mim, Túlio, why don't you go for a master degree? It's like, man, I want to make more, I have more interesting things to spend my time with. Okay, so let's go. Yeah, we're going to read this last one. Vamos ler esse último capítulo aqui, tá? Esse último parágrafo aqui e vamos concluir, porque eu sei que já é quase 1h da tarde and people have to go back to work.
Unfortunately.
Or fortunately.
Yeah.
Don't be so pessimistic.
Or realistic.
Which is the same. Oh boy. Peraí, que aqui... Okay.
Upside at the expense of others. Which brings us to the largest fragilizer of society and greatest generator of crises, absence of skin in the game. Some become anti-fragile at the expense of others by getting the upside or gains from volatility, variations, and disorder, and exposing others to the downside risks of losses or harm. And such anti-fragility at the cost of fragility of others is hidden.
Ok, so this is interesting. Skin in the game seria como se você fosse trapacear no jogo. Ok? É como se você fosse passar a perna nos outros. Skin in the game. Some become anti-fragile at the expense of others by getting upside or gains from volatility, variations, and disorder, exposing others to the downside risks or losses or harm. Ou seja, muitas grandes vitórias no mundo, na história da humanidade, foram feitas através do seguinte: eu vou me dar bem e os outros vão se ferrar. Isso é antiético? É. Aparentemente antiético? É. Não necessariamente antiético. Isso é covarde? Em algum momento pode ser. Is it coward? Is it politically incorrect? Totalmente político incorreto. Tá? Totally. Quando eu estudei arte marcial, as artes marciais orientais, eu só estudei arte marcial japonesa e chinesa, a gente nunca ataca onde o cara é forte. A gente sempre procura encontrar onde o cara está vulnerável para bater onde ele está vulnerável. It's surprising this. It's a surprising thing. Eu sei, cara, não existe luta justa na luta de verdade. Você sempre bate onde o cara está com a guarda aberta. Isso é anti-fragility. I become anti-fragile by exposing people to their fragilities.
Given the blindness to anti-fragility by the Soviet Harvard intellectual circles, this asymmetry is rarely identified and so far never taught.
Não em todos os lugares, mas realmente nas escolinhas politicamente corretas, yes, it's never taught.
Further, as we discovered during the financial crisis that started in 2008, these blow-up risks to others are easily concealed owing to the growing complexity of modern institutions and political affairs.
Mm-hmm.
While in the past, people of rank or status were those and only those who took risks, who had the downside for their actions, and heroes were those who did so for the sake of others. Today, the exact reverse is taking place.
It's amazing. This is amazing.
We are witnessing the rise of a new class of inverse heroes, that is, bureaucrats, bankers, Davos-attending members of the IAND, International Association of Name Droppers, and
which I do not know what the hell is this. I have no idea what the hell is this.
Academics with too much power and no real downside and or accountability. They game the system while citizens pay the price.
Isso aqui, cara, isso aqui é a história do Brasil, velho. Isso aqui é a história do Brasil. Academics in America as well, and in Canada as well. Academics with too much power and no real downside and or accountability. They game the system, eles jogam no sistema, while the citizens pay the price. That's our history in a nutshell. This is it.
At no point in history have so many non-risk takers, that is, those with no personal exposure, exerted so much control.
Ok, isso é interessante. At no point in history, em nenhum ponto da história, tem. Aí veja que coisa interessante. Como ele usa o termo negativo na abertura da sentença, ele utiliza o verbo antes do sujeito como se fosse uma pergunta. Todas as vezes que a gente tiver uma frase que é uma afirmação negativa, quando a gente abre a frase com um elemento negativo, a gente inverte a sentença. Isso é um recurso estilístico, ou seja, é um recurso de beleza, tá? De estilo. E isso é um padrão no inglês. At no point, elemento negativo, verbo antes do sujeito. Have so many risk takers. Isso aqui é o sujeito. That is, ou seja, those with no personal exposure. Aqueles com nenhuma exposição pessoal. Vamos para a próxima parte aqui. Exerted, exercido, tá? Isso aqui é exercer poder, exercer controle. Exerted so much control. Isso aqui é a União Europeia, tá? Essa é a razão pela qual a Inglaterra saiu da União Europeia. Que os caras tomam as decisões e eles não podem sofrer pressão, nem podem sofrer impeachment se isso afetar negativamente a população. That's why they decided to get out of the United European Union, okay? So it's an interesting sentence, fantastic sentence in terms of describing a phenomenon, and also an interesting sentence to learn English from, which is an advanced rule of stylistics.
Following.
The chief ethical rule is the following.
Thou shalt not have anti-fragility at the expense of the fragility of others.
Pronto, isso aqui é uma frase muito bonita para o mundo do politicamente correto. Isso aqui é o thou, isso aqui é o pronome tudo em inglês. Ele caiu em desuso, hoje a gente somente utiliza o pronome you, que é equivalente a vós, e aqui é o pronome tu, thou. E aqui o verbo shall, conjugado, de acordo com a palavra thou, como se fazia antigamente. Por exemplo, Shakespeare escrevia assim. E quando você pega a Bíblia, por exemplo, a Bíblia do Rei James, a Bíblia de Douay Rheims, que são de 1600, 1500, você vai ver, por exemplo, Deus dizendo thou shalt not kill, tu não deves matar. Então aqui ele emulou o mesmo recurso estilístico bíblico, porque ele está brincando. Ele disse aqui, ó, isso aqui é uma regra. Então é como se isso aqui fosse uma regra divina, tão superior que ele simula o estilo do texto bíblico no qual Deus diz, thou shalt not kill. E aqui ele fala a mesma coisa, thou shalt not have antifragility at the expense, ao preço, aos custos, às custas of the fragility of the others. Isso aqui é o mundo do politicamente correto em uma sentença muito legal. Então acho que é um ótimo ponto para a gente parar, porque vamos ficar curiosos de ler a sequência do livro e também de comentar, ok? Eu sei que alguns já devem ter partido. Olha, os 4 estão todos aqui. So, thank you very much. Não, a Raíssa precisou partir. So, thank you very much, people, for being present. I hope you have enjoyed. Eu estou com vontade de fazer uma sessão dessa amanhã pela manhã. Amanhã meio-dia também, mas vocês me dizem se é pertinente, senão a gente deixa para fazer a nossa próxima na segunda-feira, ok? Então vocês podem me mandar mensagem por aqui mesmo, ou pelo Instagram, ou pelo WhatsApp, e a gente descobre, tá?
Só um segundinho, então. Túlio, Daniel, boa tarde a todos. Cheguei bem tarde aí, mas como ouvinte mesmo. Mas tem algumas pessoas que queriam. Quando eu falei desse livro, Túlio, várias pessoas se entusiasmaram, inclusive alguns já conheciam o autor, já viram aplicações dos conceitos desse livro nos negócios e investimentos, inclusive. E tem uma galera que está meio curiosa para participar, entendeu? Para conhecer mais, enfim. Eu já encaminhei.
Então seria bom fazer amanhã, né? Para poder dar de beber a quem tem sede.
Pois é, eu só vou checar o horário do pessoal, a disponibilidade, mas tem algumas pessoas que acredito que devem participar, assim.
Eu vou fazer o seguinte, eu vou converter o vídeo é convertido aqui pelo Zoom quando ele acaba a reunião, e eu vou postar no YouTube essa leitura, tá? Para que as pessoas possam assistir. Se for o caso, eu posso omitir, por exemplo, eu posso tentar ocultar as telas de vídeo e tal, se as pessoas tiverem esse problema. Assim, professor, não quero aparecer no vídeo e tal, beleza. Eu dou um jeito de ocultar as telas dos participantes, mas eu posso compartilhar para eles assistirem a reprise. E, para mim, o principal problema seria os meus horários. Então, para mim, é possível fazer meio-dia. Se eu fizesse em outro horário, ficaria difícil. Se eu tentasse também conciliar com os horários de todas as pessoas, acabaria sendo algo inviável. Então, assim, a ideia é mais ou menos assim. É um programa que acontece na hora do almoço. Se você quiser, enquanto você está almoçando, poder aproveitar para aprender um pouquinho de inglês com uma leitura interessante, cara, pega lá o link, pega o acesso do meeting e vem fazer parte dele. Saca?
Uhum. Tem melhor comida do que o conhecimento, meu amigo.
Pois é.
Faz muito sentido, faz muito sentido. Não, excelente. Se for, para amanhã eu vou tentar chamar o pessoal, amanhã meio-dia, né, pelo que eu estou entendendo.
Certo.
Senão,
e
o
amanhã
pessoal
meio-dia,
no...
segunda-feira. Eu estou pensando em fazer todo dia da semana que vem, meio-dia, um encontro.
Massa. Não, show de bola, show de bola.
Beleza? Daniel,
já vou
thank you
avisar
very
o
much
pessoal.
for the support, man.
Okay, man. Thank you.
Have a great
Congratulations
day,
for
sir.
your project.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. We're going to make it anti-fragile in the future.
All right, man. Thank you. Have a nice weekend.
Yeah, you too, man. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, people.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Hayana. Bye-bye, William. Bye-bye, Edvan. Thank you very much for the support. Thank you very much for the attention. I hope you have enjoyed this meeting, and I hope to see you tomorrow, okay? Okay, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.